Well, let's speak to our reporter Paul Hawkins, who's in a Turkish cafe in Surrey this morning, finding out how expats there are feeling about the election. And I suppose, at the end of the day, Paul, this is all about whether or not they accept a sort of continuation of authoritarianism under President Erdogan, or a move towards the West and NATO and a bit more of a democratisation again.
So, yeah, that's absolutely right. Morning to you both. Turkey had a bit of a crossroads, really. They've had 20 years of President Erdogan, who's really given himself powers to rule Turkey with more of an iron fist, especially after that attempted coup in 2016. And now you've got this opposition candidate, this unity candidate, Kilicdaroglu, who really has brought a lot of the opposition together and is polling at the moment that 98% of votes counted Kilicdaroglu on 45%, Erdogan on 49.49%. He only needs 50 plus 1% to win or to keep the presidency outright. So he's very close to that margin, but we think it's going to remain that way, which means they'll go to a second runoff in a couple of weeks between the top two. That person behind me is Ataturk, the first president of modern Turkey who swept away the caliphate and actually warned about the kind of rise, the potential rise of authoritarianism within Turkey. And a lot of people are saying, look, that's what Erdogan's become. It's become kind of like the anti-Ataturk. But let's speak to someone who voted in the election. We speak to Irfan Turker, who's owner of Pasha Cafe in Chobham. Irfan, first of all, if you don't mind me asking, how did you vote?
I voted for the opposition to Kemal Kilicdaroglu.
Right. Okay. Just tell us, why is that?
Alternative for Erdogan, basically.
Yeah. But I mean, we've spoken about this when we were off air, and you were saying that you're not a massive fan of him either, but better than Erdogan, or less bad than Erdogan?
Well, when Erdogan came into power, Turkey was in crossroads themselves as well. I'm not suggesting that he did everything bad. He brought some new ideas to Turkey, but afterwards the power got to his head, that I believe. And by changing the system from parliamentary system to presidential system, didn't work for Turkey. And he himself has said that it wasn't the best thing that he should have done. Turkey has to go back to the parliamentary system back again, and Kilicdaroglu is the one who's going to pursue it. That's the reason why I voted for him. Because
he's going to take power away from the presidency and put it back towards the parliament.
That's correct. The power belongs to the nation, not to one man.
Yeah, and how would that work actually? Because the AK party, which is Erdogan's party, it looks like it's going to win a majority in parliament. So how would that work then if Kilicdaroglu wins the presidency?
Well, there's going to be crossroads again. Unless they change it to the parliamentary system, everything will be within his grasp.
Yeah.
Once he changes, then they will vote on things differently. One-man power is not a good idea for Turkey.
And the two big election issues were, of course, the earthquake, which I know you've been to see the aftermath of when you visited Turkey. Tell us a little bit about that, and also how high inflation is in Turkey at the moment, because officially 40%, but some people think it could be close to 100.
Yeah, it is much higher than that. As I said, this one-man management is not a very clever idea. Erdogan has got the full power for the media, for the national institutions and everything. One of his tweak, the institution who governs the inflation rates, is in his grasp. He dictates what they want him to say, but there is a parallel institutions who say otherwise. So the institution, the governmental institution says it's 40%, but it's much higher than that. You know that from the general consensus in the market, in the supermarkets, with everything else as well. The buying power has diminished completely.
Because here, interest rates have been rising, haven't they, to try and curb inflation. I heard that Erdogan he doesn't want to put interest rates up. In fact, he's actually cut them.
That's correct. He's got his own economical policy against all the economical science. By cutting the interest, he thinks that he's going to do things. But the economist in Turkey says exactly opposite of it. But he says I, me, basically.
Yeah. Really good to talk to you, Irfan. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very
Irfan
much.
Turker, owner of Pasha Cafe. You might be wondering at home, well, why does this matter to us? Turkey, big strategic nation, geographically where it sits, straddling Europe and Asia, is almost like a metaphor for how it acts out politically and democratically. It balances its relations. It's friendly ties with Russia, friendly ties with China. It's become, under Erdogan, less pro-West. In terms of migration, it takes a lot of migrants, and in exchange for that, the EU gives it billions of dollars worth of euros. So it's very influential where it sits and how it affects what happens in the West and around the rest of the world, I should say.
And the big question now, Paul, is, of course, now that you're through the door of the cafe and you've done your interview, what will you be having for breakfast? What's on your mind?
What's the Turkish breakfast involve?
Do you know what? Max does a very nice morning feast, and what you get with it is something called sucuk, which is like spicy Turkish sausage. So I'm partial to a bit of sucuk, if you can get hold of some.